Hi, and welcome to another vlog, episode 11. It's been a while since I've been busy on my podcast, which you can also check out on my channel, so please do. If you see this video, please like and subscribe, of course, not forgetting this time. So this is a special episode in the sense that I had an idea because of a question that a friend of mine asked, Michiel Tieleman, how it is to go freelance, basically. So I went freelance on the 1st of December of last year. So I'm not freelance for that long. But I thought it was a good idea and a good point in time to evaluate. I also just switched assignments, which I will tell you a little bit about in a second. And I was so free to ask Michiel. So if you want to know more about changing from fixed contract or whatever kind of contract you have to freelance, please write down some questions and I will try and answer them as well as possible. So this is what he did. Michiel asked me to put a link to his Facebook page, if I remember correctly, made by Michiel in the description of this video, which I will do. Very briefly about Michiel. He is a very talented guy, jack of all trades, very handy with his hands, makes nice stuff for his kids. When I was young, I'm still befriended with his younger brother, and he taught us how to work with 3D Studio Max. We had no idea how it all worked. He did, which surprised me because I don't think he had any formal education in that. And it was really cool. So, and also that gave me an insight into software a little bit and what you can do with it, very specifically 3D design software. But it definitely helped me get the spark for software and software testing. So there you go, there you have it. So the first question is, how did you switch from your fixed job, like your normal job, to freelance? So it is something that I was thinking about for a longer time. It didn't come overnight, of course. I already thought about it when I was switching from one secondment company to the other. This was during the Corona times, and I wasn't sure what the market was going to do, the job market. So I thought, okay, I'll postpone it for now, but this is definitely something that I want to do. I had experience in the job, like almost 5 years. And I thought, like, okay, I have enough experience to go out into the world myself. I don't think 5 years is a rule of thumb. It really depends on, I think, knowing what kind of experience you have, what kind of jobs fit your experience, what level, and then asking the right amount of money for that job. That's basically what you need to do. That's what secondment companies do for you. But if you are able to do that yourself, you can do it yourself. That doesn't mean you need 5 years experience. Some people feel more comfortable if they do it at 10 years experience. Sometimes people do it when they have 3 years of experience. And it also depends on the sector you are operating in. So I'm a software tester. I'm in IT. There's a high demand and there's not a super large supply. So the chances of you getting a job are, I would say, relatively high. Of course, you still need to be a professional. But I also looked at my own financial situation. I built up a bit of a buffer because I was starting to invest money, put money aside, and I built myself a buffer of 5,000 euros. And I thought, okay, if I go freelance, I will build it up a bit more. So I now have a buffer of 10K, so that if for one reason or another I lose my assignment, I still have some money saved up so that I can cover that period. I also don't have a lot of fixed costs. So Joanna, my fiance, moved into this place, and when we just met, she bought this place, and I was able to move in after a while. And we came to an agreement, and so I don't help with the mortgage. This place is hers. I do help a little bit with the utilities and pay some sort of rent. So I don't have a lot of high fixed costs, which made the risk for me to go freelance and potentially fail, um, um, or the impact if that would happen, very low. If I would fail, then there was still no. I wouldn't. I would still have a roof over my head, and I wouldn't lose everything I have. So there you have it. That's how I switched from fixed job to freelance. Was just the first question. The second question is, how did you shape your value proposition? How did I found the pains and gains of my customers? And how did I adjust my products and services as a solution? So when I first read that question, I thought I sort of designed or gave shape to my value proposition automatically with the work that I've done with the several segment companies that I worked for, but it's not entirely true because it's not automatic. In those companies, I've also made certain decisions that sort of shaped the kind of software tester that I am, or the freelance software tester that I am. I like to focus on the entirety of the development process and try to support the team in working as efficiently as possible in a Scrum environment. But I don't want to be in endless meetings because I have difficulty retaining attention. So it's more of a profile of who I am as a person and as a professional, so that I know which type of companies are a good match. Because if you're a freelancer, it's not like you are a company, you are still just one person, right? I wouldn't want to confuse the two too much. So it's really, do you know yourself well enough? Both your strengths and weaknesses, and do you think those are a match with the company that you have in front of you for an interview, for instance, or when you are going through your acquisition process? I think it's more important to really do a thorough analysis. Let's call it a strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats SWOT analysis of yourself, and then see which type of companies match, instead of you going through every company that you can get your hands on and sending a general acquisition letter or message. If they see you put in the work and that you are a match, I think your chances are much higher of succeeding. So that's how I form my value proposition. In addition to that, I also want to go into determining the amount of money you should ask per hour or per project. I ask per hour. And how you get to that number, or how I got to that number. Because I worked for secondment companies before, I knew what the rate was that they received on my work per hour. So for instance, when I was working at tech services, I was receiving an X amount of number. I'm not going to say the number. And then I just went underneath it for €5. And so that's how I determined the rate per hour. Because this is a question that I hear from a lot of freelancers. Also, what I struggled with when I was a copywriter. So when I just came from university, I was a freelance copywriter. And I found it very difficult to determine how much money I should ask per hour, or if I should even ask it per hour. I did eventually do it per hour. And that also depends on the type of business you're in. Whether you're a freelancer in IT is totally different than when you're a freelancer in, in horeca, in the kitchen, for instance, or when you are an Uber driver, then you're also apparently a freelancer, I guess. Then it goes by fair. Oh, sorry. And other people get paid by project, I suppose. So, and then the amount of hours don't matter. It's also what the person or the company who gives the assignment wants, right? They might have a preference. In IT, it's almost always per hour, because yeah, it varies. They're not gonna. If anyone would say you get this amount of money for this project, while they determine when it goes live, right? Which is never in the hands of the software tester or usually anyone in the Scrum team, or maybe it is. Well, anyway, how long the project takes is not always in your hands. So it would be ill-advised to agree on if the project is finished, then you get your money. Then yeah, you might never get your money. So a little bit about how you find clients in my sector specifically, so in IT. So I found out very quickly that it's almost impossible to just directly approach companies and get a freelance placement. It almost always goes via recruiters. So, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, because the recruiters also have their portfolio of clients and they know which positions are open. If you would have to find that out, that's a day job in itself. Plus, then you also need to make sure, like I said before, that there's a match between you and the assignment or the client. So everything goes through recruitment agencies in IT. And maybe in other sectors as well. As a copywriter, I didn't have to deal with it that much. There it was almost directly. Although I did work for a marketing agency where I ended up writing blogs for small and medium-sized companies. And so they were also sort of an in-between. And I was just reflecting back on this when I was writing these questions down, or these answers to these questions. And when I just came from uni and I started as a copywriter, I felt like I had a lot of trouble with the acquisition process. But what I could have done, because I was with this marketing agency, I could have invested more in the little and medium-sized companies that I was working with, and learning how I was doing, investing more in the relationship with that end client to try and grow my business. And yeah, those are two major things, I think. So whatever clients you have, if you have several small clients, invest in that relationship, because they might come to you for more business if they like you and if they like your work. So next question: what was the easiest aspect for you when you started to become a freelancer, and what was the hardest? Let's start with the hardest, because I had to deal with it more recently. The hardest for me is to control my nerves when I don't have an assignment. So I'm not necessarily a very nervous person, but I am quite restless. And when I don't have an assignment, I feel like, I need to do everything in my power to get an assignment as soon as possible. Which is not necessarily a good thing, because then you might compromise the right assignment, right? If you just go for the first assignment that pops up, that's not necessarily the best fit for you, not the one that you will learn the most in, where you will have to enjoy the most. So yeah, that's for me is the hardest. And now it was particularly not nerve-wracking, but creating some nerves, because my assignment at CarNext ended, because CarNext is downsizing. Unfortunately, it's not going very well. And so then all of a sudden you have, after a week, you don't have a job anymore, so you need to find something else. But having said that, the easiest thing I find, or at least what I was really surprised with, is to find a new assignment. Just put on your LinkedIn that you're open to work, and approach your existing network, and yeah, you have an assignment in no time. Depending on the time of year, though. Like initially, my assignment was going to end on the 1st of December, at CarNext, and then I would have to find an assignment in December, which is kind of hard, because it's just before Christmas and that whole shabam. it's usually a month in which not a whole lot happens. So a difficult month to get an assignment. So maybe I've been blessed in that sense that I had to find an assignment in September. So the easiest was to get a new assignment. So I'm happy I bridged those difficult months. Another question is whether these aspects have stayed the same now that I'm busy for myself a bit longer. So first of all, I'm not busy that long, like a little bit over half a year, so I wouldn't say that's very long. So in that respect, no, I don't think a whole lot has changed. So since that changing of assignments came quite unexpectedly, although there were some signs, I still found it hard to suppress my nerves. But it's good that I talked to my mom and my fiance, and they were able to calm my nerves a little bit. And now I'm also able to enjoy the free time that I have, which is great because I tend to take less holidays now that I'm busy for myself. Also because I want to have a good book year this year to get a nice mortgage. But that aside, you should still try and enjoy that time that you're off a little bit or as much as possible, and not only worry about like when I'm gonna find my next assignment. But now that I know that I'm gonna have an assignment from the 1st of October, I feel like okay, I have 2 weeks of holidays where I can just relax. I don't have to worry about having to attend conversations job applications basically, and I don't have to be in touch with recruiters, which is not an ordeal. It's not bad, but it is you having to be responsible and answering questions about your motivation and stuff like that. So it's not holiday, let's put it that way. How do I arrange my financial administration, the registration at the Chamber of Commerce, and other affiliated stuff? So I put in the administration I do myself, as in I put in invoices that I send out and that I receive into a system, but I rely on an accountant to check it. So this accountant does that quarterly, and I pay a fixed monthly fee. And then this person also checks the income tax, but that's still far away. That's kind of nice because I can still compare it again to my copywriting times when I was doing it by myself. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, pardon my French, which was very nerve-wracking. So I would recommend trying to do as much as possible yourself, because then you also learn from it, which is quite handy. But have someone who checks on you, because then you can also learn more, because they will tell you did this and that wrong. Can you correct it? The registration at the Chamber of Commerce is very easy. You can just do it online. You have to go there yourself personally at some point. To pay something, and also to answer some questions, but it's very easy. Then you have certain insurances, which I would definitely recommend. So there's the liability insurance as a company. So if you mess something up, you throw away a database or something really bad. Then it's good to have your ass covered, so to say, with insurance. That's fairly easy, fairly straightforward. There's just a couple of varieties you can choose between, so just take a pick, and it's not too expensive either, but it's very important that you have one. Then there is also when you are not able to work anymore. I don't know what the insurance for that is called. That one is a bit more tricky because only recently they created one for IT freelancers. Before you would have to get a similar insurance as a plumber or anyone else who does hard manual labor, where the risk is much, much higher that they get injured and that they can't do their job anymore for whatever reason. Sitting behind the desk is a lot less risky, and it also takes less of a toll on your body. Granted that you should take care of your body behind the desk as well. Stand up regularly and stretch and stuff like that. Don't underestimate it. But you know what I mean. You know what I'm getting at. It's less risky. But so these insurances were like 300 euros a month, which is really a lot for doing desk work. So I would say I also went to an in-between. They helped me really well with what kind of insurance would fit me the best by just asking me questions about my situation. They know better than what fits with you in your situation than you do. Trust me. What is also handy is that they will act as an in-between in case you suffer injury or get into an accident, and you don't have to deal with insurance directly yourself, which is nice, because having to deal with insurance and stuff like that is like work, I would say. And that's the thing you are insured for, that you cannot work anymore. So maybe it's nice to let someone else do it and pay them a little bit of money for it. So, yeah. Let me see, do I miss anything here? No. Do I make use of certain entrepreneurial platforms? I don't use anything else but LinkedIn. I know you have Upwork and other websites like that post projects. I don't rely on those. I want basically to be an employee for your company temporarily for 36 hours, and that's that. I don't need more. So I did a couple of other side gigs. I'm for an entrepreneurial magazine, where I interviewed again small and medium-sized companies and wrote a blog for them, which was very nice. But it was just additional work, which I found via LinkedIn, or they found me via LinkedIn. So, yeah, maybe in other branches or other sectors, you might have to rely on other on entrepreneurial platforms and stuff like that. But yeah, I think LinkedIn suffices usually. Where did I grow the most through my freelance or entrepreneurship? My freelance. What do you call this? My one-man business. And what did I learn the most from? So what I learned, what I already sort of guessed, right? But I think you really learn it when you live it, when you do it, is that if you take certain risks, which are very minimal in the line of work that I do, then there are quite big financial rewards in return, which I think is amazing. So of course, you run a bit more risk, that as I recently had, or I'm in the situation right now where you're in between jobs. You have to rely on your buffer, which I don't really have to do yet, actually. You don't get paid a regular salary. You're still fine, You're absolutely fine. You're way better off than when you are working for a secondment company, at least I am. So yeah, that's what I learned. Take a little bit of risk, take that leap, and then you win a lot by it. What did I grow in the most since I started going freelance? I think that's independence. It's funny because in Dutch we also say you are an independent, zelfstandige, when you go freelance. as a one-man business, and I will compare it to what I was used to before. With a secondment company, you are in a way accompanied in your journey and with your decision making. So with my previous secondment company, I followed a couple of courses, and I also went to several outings, and just usually informal outings. So both on a professional as on a social level, you are taken by the hand, and that is very nice, actually. When you're a freelancer, that fades away. Of course, it's out of the picture. You have to figure it out yourself. You have more time for your own decisions, but you have to take that responsibility. So you do have to think about it. And it doesn't mean that you have to think about it immediately as you turn freelance, but more as a long-term strategy. In general, I don't recommend just following any course. Again, you have to play your strengths and also see what is in demand on the market, of course. And if it happens to fall together, then that's perfect, of course. So yeah. So these were the questions sent in by Michiel. I still have one or two words to say. So the first one that comes to mind is the thank you to Joanna, my fiance, because she said go for it, and I really needed just that little push to actually go for it and put things into motion. Just the idea of having the support of my loved one really made a world of a difference. So of course I'm a one-man business, but I couldn't have done it without Joanna. I'm not saying like behind every strong man there's a strong woman. No, because I support her in her decisions as well, of course, and I try to think with her about potential career changes that she would make. But it really helps if you have someone, it can be a partner, it can also be a good friend, someone you can talk about these things and say like, okay, put things into perspective for you, because you might see the risks as being too high than they actually are, or you might think that the rewards are bigger than they are. If you have someone to talk to, you talk through it, you get it out of your head and into the real world, and then you know whether you are making a good decision or not. Also, make sure that you have some sort of a backup plan. Things might not go the way that you want them to, or maybe you can use a scenario where you go freelance in stages, so you don't have to go and take a big leap per se. You can also do it gradually, and then you get used to the administration as well, which is not something you want to get used to, but it's part of the game. Yeah, I think that's the most important one. And last of all, if you have any specific questions about becoming freelance in the Netherlands, let's put it like that, because I don't know a lot about other jurisdictions, you can get in touch with me. I have a broad network, and I'm happy to let you use it. Yeah, I would say give it a good thought, and let's do it. Go for it.